Welcome to Doc's Download, the podcast edition, where real conversations meet real Buckeye life. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Shivers, Senior Vice President for Student Life, and better known as Doc, here to bring you stories, strategies, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're a brand new Buckeye or a seasoned one, consider this your all-access pass to tips, truths, and triumphs straight from the heart of campus. Let's dive in, everybody. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Doc's Download, the podcast, where we break down college life at Ohio State, one topic at a time. I am your host, Doc, and today we are talking about something that's on a lot of students and families' minds. That's affordability to college. From navigating financial aid and scholarships to finding the right campus resources, which may include an on-campus job, paying for college can feel overwhelming. But at Ohio State, there is a large network of support ready to help students succeed. I'm very excited today to have three amazing, incredible people joining me, and I'm going to ask them to give you a little bit more information about themselves. But we have Amy, who is here as our Assistant Vice Provost for Student Financial Success and Strategic Enrollment Management. That is a long title, Amy, which tells me you do a lot of really important work. We also have Benjamin. Ben, do you prefer Benjamin or Ben?
I guess Ben.
Ben. All right. We have Ben, who is also a student mentor from Buckeye Link. And then we are super excited to also have Vic joining us from Scarlet and Gray Financial, who is serving as a coach in the Student Wellness Center. Thank you all so much for being here. One of the things that we have gotten feedback on is they want to know more about who you are. So I'm going to ask each of you to just take a moment to tell us your name, major, tell us a little bit more about what do you love regarding Ohio State. Some people are able to choose one thing. Others need to go down a path of 3 or 4. I'm going to ask for the sake of this conversation, we keep it at 2 because we know there's a lot to love about Ohio State. So does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Vic, I'm going to start with you.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
My name is Vic. I'm a senior majoring in finance, minoring in financial planning, and I'm also a coach at Scarlet and Gray Financial. And one thing I love about Ohio State is the culture. Both inside and outside of the classroom, it's vibrant, challenging, and it's a place that I'm grateful to call home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Vic, where's home for you?
Home is Dublin, Ohio, so only 20 minutes away.
Woo!
Yeah.
Shout out to Dublin. I live in Dublin, too.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic. Any more Dublin? Okay, we'll go down that path later. All right, Amy, tell us more about you.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm Amy Wheeler, Assistant Vice Provost of Student Financial Success. That is a very long title. I work with Buckeye Link and Student Financial Aid. I've been with the university for 25 years this year. And I am an original Buckeye. I got my degree here, so I am a Buckeye for life. Favorite thing about Ohio State? I'm going to have trouble with 2. I would say the first is these 2 students, right? Mm-hmm. Students are my favorite thing. I get to work with some great students. I get to interact with great students. I tell everybody September, October is my favorite months on campus because all those new faces is just energizing. And then the people. I work with great people who are all passionate about affordability and access for students. And so it's exciting to come to work every day.
That's awesome. Amy, I have to ask you, since you shared you've been here for 25 years, what's the one major change you've seen over 25 years?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Technology. When I first started, we had a phone center, and there were phones with cords, and all of those things. Lots of manual things. There was no student portal, really. So I think there's been such dramatic shifts in technology.
Do you all know what phones are that have cords?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, great. I was going to say, Amy, we are definitely the oldest people in the room because I knew exactly what you were talking about. But I wanted to check in and make sure we didn't say anything that you hadn't heard before. All right.
My name is Ben. I am an evolution and ecology major. I'm from Strongsville, Ohio. I would say probably my favorite thing about Ohio State is kind of just generally the community. So I've met a lot of people here. I've trained like 60 people at my job. Like, it's awesome to like meet all of them. It's super diverse up there. It's really great to like talk to people. I've made a lot of friends. Outside of that, I've made a lot of friends in the classroom. I made a lot of friends just like out and about, like going out and everything. So I'd say the community of like meeting new people and everything.
That's wonderful because it's a large community.
It really is.
You've got a lot of people to choose from, don't you? You do. Thank you all so much for sharing just a little bit about who you are and really what makes Ohio State special for you. Amy, I really appreciate your comment and focus on the students as the most central part of why we get to do what we do. And a lot of what you do relative to student financial aid provides those students the access and the ability to be able to come and thrive and succeed at Ohio State. But we also recognize that those processes can be very confusing. Financial aid itself can be confusing. What's the difference between scholarships and grants? And then what's a FAFSA? People are like, what's FAFSA? What does that even mean? So it can be a lot. It can be a lot to really keep track of. Can you give us sort of a big picture overview, Amy, of navigating financial aid at Ohio State?
Absolutely. So we will start first with FAFSA. So FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. This is a federal form, but it's basically the foundation. It qualifies. It's what is used to determine if students qualify for federal, state, and most institutional financial aid. So that is the starting point. It is FAFSA season. The FAFSA opened October 1st. The priority date for Ohio State is February 1. We encourage students to start early. You can save your progress. I will say that FAFSA has changed significantly over the last few years, and so it is much easier for students and families. Takes a lot less time. I've had families who did the old version and the new version and were shocked at how much simpler it is. FAFSA has tools now to help students kind of navigate if there are questions. And of course, we have Buckeye Link, who is here to help if students have questions. We have staff in both Buckeye Link and Student Financial Aid that do a lot of FAFSA outreach events. So we're doing a lot of high school visits for those prospective students. But we are also available for student organizations and groups to come and do. We can do FAFSA workshops. But it is a much simpler process. FAFSA is something students should do every year. So it's not a one and done. We do require students to do it every year. But that's what determines if students are eligible for things like need-based grants, federal Pell grants, state grants, those kinds of things.
That's wonderful. But it is. I'm happy to hear that it's shorter.
Yes.
When I was in college, it was like 9 pages long, and it required an expert to help you to be able to navigate it. So I'm happy to hear that we have the ability to adjust and make things easier for students and families. That's absolutely incredible. So I want to build off that a little bit, Vic, and I want to hear from you. So students receive financial aid, or they may receive different scholarships, and they receive more money than perhaps what the cost of their bill. Talk to me a little bit about how you discuss with students sort of managing those resources that they have in the best way possible, and perhaps even give an example of some of the questions that you get from students.
Absolutely. That's a great question. So when students receive more aid than they require, they're operating in a surplus, meaning they're earning more than they're spending. And the biggest thing that we want to consider with that is, well, what should we do with that money? And the conversations I like to have with students surround around their goals. So whenever I start a conversation with a client, I like to discuss an idea of a roadmap, where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What about 10 years? And this is important because once we've established a roadmap, we can talk about the tools to start achieving those goals. And the first thing we look at is a budget. And if they're operating in that surplus, that's when they can start devising or dividing some of that money towards some of their goals. And common questions I see with that is, well, can I start investing with some of this extra money? And I'm glad students bring that up because it's a common misconception that you need a lot of money to invest. And luckily, these conversations go smoothly, and we just talk about passive ways that you can be disciplined in investing. And we talk about the power of compound growth so that money will work for you over time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I needed you when I was a undergrad. Darn, Vic, that's impressive. Ben, I know that you work with Buckeye Link, and I imagine that you probably get a lot of questions that come there. Tell me a little bit about what things do you hear, and where do you feel like students need to invest more time learning about, whether they're a first year or someone who's a third year or fourth year?
I would say mostly connected to the FAFSA, I think, is a lot of the things people call in about. Most of the time, it is kind of understanding what the number it gives you afterwards means and why you have the financial aid package you have. So sometimes we'll see if someone receives more aid than a previous year, they'll be a little bit confused. And it's because the index number that we get from the FAFSA changes from year to year. And so kind of based on what we get from the FAFSA, as well as like what the cost of attendance might be for a given year, kind of understanding the relationship between those two numbers and how that adjusts kind of what your financial aid package is going to look like. I think also outside of that, knowing what the statement of account is, like where to find it, what it looks like, is definitely something I think that really benefits people on like a foundational level, just because kind of understanding what you're looking at, because it is a pretty big document. It's a little bit confusing with a lot of items. Knowing what each of those items means, when the due date is for that, the options to pay that are available to you. It's kind of general what I'm saying, obviously, but, just having the foundational level knowledge of like what is happening, I think is really what I would advise people to kind of educate themselves on. So just the FAFSA and the statement of account.
And what role do families play in helping students to understand all of the things that you just mentioned?
So they definitely play a big role. Like you guys were talking about, the FAFSA involves obviously the parents inputting a lot of tax information. So it's definitely important that they look at that financial aid and they are aware of what's going to come out from that. And, the number that it makes for people is dependent on their income and like assets and things like that. So them being involved and looking at the financial aid kind of helps highlight to the student like where they're going to be at financially, especially when someone's 18 years old and, they're coming into college for the first time. It's definitely a little nerve-wracking. So we do have like a student information release where essentially, even though you're 18, as long as you fill this form out, the student information release on your Buckeye Link account, parents can still call in and we can talk to them and kind of lay it out. Because again, families learning together is really going to make sure that it sticks with them like all 4 years, even when they stop, maybe needing their parents for a lot of decisions.
Well, it's really important, too, for something that Amy said earlier about the fact that you have to complete the FAFSA every year. So it isn't a one and done. So working in partnership with your family to make sure that the tax returns have been done so that you can apply in the appropriate time and by meeting the deadlines is critically important. So it doesn't feel like it's one of those things a student can do solo. They need to be in partnership with someone who can make sure that the appropriate information is there. Amy, you mentioned earlier about the importance of the FAFSA and making sure that it's done every year, but also wanting to make sure that the information is correct, particularly to get need-based aid. But there are also scholarships that students can apply for. Tell us more about what those scholarships are. How does a student access those? And are scholarships connected to FAFSA as well?
Scholarships can be connected to FAFSA. So there's different categories of scholarships. So academic scholarships are typically they're not connected to FAFSA at all if they're just academic scholarships. So students can qualify initially their first year for academic scholarships just based on their application for admission. But for need-based scholarships, to determine a student's need, we do need the student to complete the FAFSA.
Yes.
We do also, typically every time we talk about FAFSA, we also talk about Scholarship Universe. Scholarship Universe is our universal scholarship tool here at Ohio State for students to complete. Students can complete Scholarship Universe, and it qualifies them for hundreds of scholarships here on campus through basically every college and department across campus. But then in addition, they can also see, based on the data within the tool, if they match to external scholarships. And so the students can then choose to go out and apply for those external scholarships that they've matched to. And Scholarship Universe is a very simple tool. When students go in, they already have a profile. So we are not asking students within the tool to answer questions that we already know about them. So if there's things like major or GPA, that information is already in the tool, and we already know that. But it will ask students a series of matching questions related to organizations they may participate in or things like that. And as the student answers matching questions, they can see additional scholarships that they may match to, and then they can go out and complete that individual application.
And those applications have different deadlines, right?
So Scholarship Universe is a tool that's open all year. And so we do recommend that students go out and check, frequently just to see if there's been a new scholarship that has been added. The tool will open for the next academic year, December 1st, and then the application deadlines will vary depending upon the college or department. For most applications, the priority deadline is February 1, but there are applications that close, after that, or things like applications for study abroad scholarships. Those applications are typically open, across the entire year.
That is very helpful. Vic, do you have to know all the things that Amy just said to help support students?
It would definitely be helpful, and I'm glad that Scholarship Universe is so simple. It's a tool I've used, and it's a great thing because it does everything in one place. But to answer your question, Doc, to help students, I think the most important to understand is their relationship with money. And I think this is important because you can't expect everyone to have the same experience with money. And I spend a lot of time with my students first just getting to know them, because at Scarlet Gray Financial, we seek to do motivational interviewing. And that basically is a concept that we're not spoon-feeding someone the answer. We're working together with them to solve problems. And so we don't need every single information a student has about their scholarships or their need-based, but we can get the sense pretty quickly. So we ask leading questions to just get a bigger picture, build trust, and then start working together.
That's fantastic. Ben, do you have to know everything that Amy knows?
Yeah. So when it comes to Scholarship Universe, what she was saying is pretty on par with what I tell people. Hundreds of scholarships, like departments, alumni organizations, student organizations, the external where we link them. I would say overall the February 1st deadline. But when it comes to a common question we get, it definitely is, how can I get more financial aid? And so Scholarship Universe is always the first thing I'm saying. So knowing that February 1st deadline, knowing that there's hundreds, knowing that they kind of open throughout the year, when that decision that they get back is released, because that's throughout the whole year. There's no set deadline for that. So that's definitely a tool that I need to know a little bit about when people call in.
Ben, I'm guessing that perhaps you have completed a FAFSA.
Yes.
That's good, because had you not, Amy would say, what's happening? What's going on? But tell us a little bit from your perspective, what's one piece of advice that you would give a student as they are embarking upon completion of the FAFSA or searching in Scholarship Universe?
I guess I would say do it as soon as possible. So we said, it just opened October 1st. So staying on top of those things is definitely something that I really, really recommend. During the summertime, we have orientation appointments where people come in and we meet with them. We call it Buckeye Business Basics now, where they come in and we discuss with them about, financial aid as they're starting their journey. And the one thing I always recommend, because parents will ask, is just stay on top of it and do it as soon as you can. Especially when it comes to the FAFSA, because if you miss that February 1st deadline, you can still definitely get aid. But there are some scholarships that you might miss out on. That priority deadline is something that does matter for a couple of them. So being familiar with that, staying on top of things, communicating within your family about what needs to get submitted and when is definitely the first and foremost important thing for financial aid.
That's really great advice. And because the deadlines are different, right, between FAFSA and the scholarships may have a different timeline. So making sure you have a plan for how you're going to track all of those and stay on top of it feels like a really important goal that one should have. Amy, before we wrap up, can you share any new initiatives or resources that students should know about this year?
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, I will continue on Scholarship Universe just for one more minute because I'm very excited about this. So for 26-27, we will have all regional campuses, all professional schools, and now all colleges on board for Scholarship Universe.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Yes, we are very excited. We have had continued growth over the last several years. But we are there. We are all across campus now. So it really is the one place to go. So I just can't emphasize enough the importance of Scholarship Universe. We have also created a series of webinars that we offer to, it started initially with new first-year students. We created a series of webinars over the summer that we offer to them and their families on topics such as Financial Aid 101, doing Business Buckeye style, where we talk about, billing and the tuition option payment plan and those kinds of things. And we also offer a smart borrowing session. But we are expanding those this year and looking to offer those for continuing students as well. And then in addition to that, we have a new net price calculator that we implemented last year on our financial aid website, where students and families can go out and input just some general information and get information on what their financial aid package may look like. And if it's an incoming student, then that gives them the opportunity to do some comparison early on.
That is fantastic. I am so thrilled about Scholarship Universe.
I am so excited.
I remember when we started having the conversations about Scholarship Universe.
Yes.
And to now hear about its growth and now being more encompassing for regionals as well as all of our colleges. That's really impressive. Congrats.
I am so excited.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's a huge feat. You all have been wonderful today. The amount of resources and knowledge and support that each and every one of you provide students and families, it's truly incredible. And as someone who is new to campus, they now have heard from all of you of the ways that you go about supporting their experience. And getting off to the right start is critical in terms of a student's ability to be successful. And a lot of that has to do with having the finances in place so that you can focus on the other important parts of the experience, which includes academics and certainly being involved and engaged on campus. So you all are critical front door leadership who helps to make sure that our students and families have what they need to get a good start at Ohio State. So I just want to, on behalf of everybody at Ohio State, just to say thank you for everything that you do and the ways that you support our community. You probably don't get a lot of high fives or a lot of thank you so much for changing my life with financial aid and scholarships. Or I actually hope you do, because I think that pathway or removing that barrier can really help students to be successful. So I want to say to our listeners, remember, this is just the start of your journey, but this is one of the most important aspects of your journey as you continue to think about preparation for graduation. Utilizing the Student Wellness Center and our Scarlet and Gray Financial can help you during your entire tenure here at Ohio State. It's not a one and done sort of relationship or engagement. thinking a lot about what you all do, Amy, relative to financial aid and scholarships and keeping those things accessible to students. And the key is always staying on top of all the different deadlines and making sure that you are doing everything that you need to do. But it's also really exciting to know that on the other end of that call, there's someone just like you, Ben, who's able to help answer those questions and probably alleviate a lot of fears and concerns that students and families might have as they embark on this huge Ohio State journey. Listeners, I hope that you found this conversation as fascinating and as exciting as I did. We work really hard at Ohio State to remove barriers to student success, and not having the resources that you need or not having access to or awareness of those resources can certainly get in the way. You've heard from so many experts this afternoon, and I hope that you all found this conversation to be incredibly helpful. You can always find more information about student financial aid at sfa.osu.edu, or you can stop by Buckeye Link. Maybe you'll get the pleasure of actually meeting Ben in person in the Student Academic Services Building, and certainly accessing the Scarlet and Gray Financial through the Student Wellness Center. And maybe you'll even get to see Vic in person, which I feel like is like a big win for everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Docs Download. Until next time, go Bucks! This program is a presentation of the Office of Student Life at The Ohio State University, recorded in the studios of WOSU Public Media. Your engineer is Dalton Jones, producers J. Randall Hicks and Matthew Swearingen, and executive producer Jen Vandemark. The views expressed are those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of the university. Join us next time for another edition of Docs Download, the podcast.